The Crystal Haven Hotel was an architectural masterpiece that towered above the bustling streets of downtown Fairhaven. Its grand entrance sparkled under the city lights, with crystal chandeliers glinting like stars through the glass doors. Ava Samuels parked her modest sedan a few blocks away and walked toward the opulent facade. She had purposely dressed down for the occasion. Faded jeans, a hoodie, and sneakers were a stark contrast to the designer attire the hotel's clientele usually sported. Ava had owned the Crystal Haven for nearly 3 years, but her involvement had been from a distance. She trusted her management team to handle the day-to-day operations, believing that her leadership behind the scenes was enough. However, rumors had reached her about the attitudes of some staff members toward guests who didn't fit their profile of wealth and prestige. Today, she had come to see the truth for herself. As Ava entered the lobby, the sheer luxury of the space still took her breath away. Marble floors gleamed underfoot, and golden accents adorned every corner. A massive floral arrangement in the center of the room filled the air with the scent of fresh lilies and roses. Ava smiled subtly, proud of the aesthetic she had envisioned when she first acquired the property. But her smile quickly faded as she felt the eyes of those around her. Wealthy patrons lounged on plush chairs, sipping cocktails and glancing at her with subtle disapproval. Ava ignored the stares and walked confidently toward the reception desk, where Harold Fitzroy, the hotel manager, was standing. Harold Fitzroy was a man who carried himself with an air of superiority. His neatly combed silver hair and tailored suit gave him an authoritative presence. When his sharp eyes fell on Ava, a flicker of disdain crossed his face. He sized her up in an instant, judging her by her attire, her lack of jewelry, and her choice of a simple backpack instead of a designer handbag. "Yes," Harold drawled, leaning slightly on the counter. "Can I help you?" Ava met his gaze evenly, her expression calm. "I'd like to book a room for the night." Harold raised an eyebrow, clearly doubting her request. "Do you have a reservation?" "No," Ava replied evenly, "but I saw online that there's availability." Harold's lips curled into a patronizing smile. "I see. Well, ma'am, you should know that this isn't your average roadside inn. Rooms here start at $500 a night and go well beyond that. Are you sure you can afford it?" The sting of his words hit Ava, but she refused to let it show. She straightened her posture and replied, "I'd like to see the available rooms before deciding." Harold sighed, clearly inconvenienced. "Fine. Wait over there," he said, gesturing toward a seating area. His tone dripped with condescension, and as he walked away, Ava heard him mutter under his breath, "What a waste of time." Ava moved to the seating area, her sharp eyes observing everything. Despite the lavish decor, she couldn't help but notice the subtle hierarchies at play. Guests who appeared wealthy were doted on by staff, while others were ignored or barely acknowledged. Her thoughts were interrupted by a kind smile from a young bellhop carrying a luggage cart. He nodded politely at her, and she returned the gesture. His simple act of kindness stood out amidst the judgmental atmosphere. A few minutes later, Harold returned, holding a tablet. "These are the rooms we have available," he said, showing her the screen. The options he displayed were clearly the least expensive ones, though even they were far from budget-friendly. Ava scanned the options and then smiled slightly. "I'll take the penthouse suite." Harold froze, staring at her as though she'd spoken another language. "The penthouse?" he repeated incredulously. "Do you even know how much that costs?" Ava kept her tone neutral. "I believe I do." The manager chuckled, shaking his head. "Listen, ma'am, the penthouse isn't just expensive. It's exclusive. It's meant for high-profile guests not." He gestured at her outfit, leaving the rest unsaid. Ava remained calm. "I'd like to book the penthouse." Harold's patience snapped. "Look, either choose something more reasonable or leave. I have real customers to attend to." Ava's eyes narrowed slightly, but her voice remained composed. "Perhaps you should call the owner," she suggested. Harold laughed outright this time. "And waste their time with this nonsense? Absolutely not." "Then I'll call them myself," Ava said, pulling out her phone. She dialed a number and stepped away from the desk, her calm demeanor unshaken. Harold watched her with a mix of amusement and annoyance, certain that she was bluffing. Ava's call was brief and to the point. When she returned to the desk, she simply said, "You might want to prepare for a visit from someone higher up." Harold smirked. "Sure, I'll wait," he said sarcastically. He turned to another guest, assuming the matter was resolved. But within minutes, the atmosphere in the lobby shifted. A sharply dressed woman with an air of authority swept into the room, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Emma Castillo, the hotel's regional director, scanned the space until her eyes landed on Ava. Her expression immediately transformed into one of respect and urgency. "Ms. Samuels," Emma exclaimed, hurrying over. "What a surprise to see you here." The lobby fell silent as heads turned. Harold's smug expression dissolved as he looked between Ava and Emma, trying to piece together what was happening. "Ms. Samuels?" Harold repeated, his voice faltering. Emma turned to him, her brow furrowed. "This is Ava Samuels, the owner of Crystal Haven Hotel. She's the reason you even have a job." The color drained from Harold's face. I didn't realize," he stammered. Ava met his gaze, her calm exterior now steely. "No, you didn't realize because you didn't bother to treat me, or anyone who looks like me, with basic respect. Your behavior today has shown me that you lack the values this hotel stands for." "I'm so sorry," Harold blurted. "I didn't mean—" Ava raised a hand to silence him. "Your intentions are irrelevant. Your actions speak louder." Emma stepped forward. "Ms. Samuels, please allow me to handle this situation. I assure you, this is not reflective of our standards." Ava nodded. "I trust you will. As for Mr. Fitzroy, I suggest he use this moment as an opportunity to reflect on his actions outside of this establishment." Harold's jaw dropped, but he knew better than to argue. Security escorted him out, leaving the lobby buzzing with whispers. Ava turned to the young bellhop who had smiled at her earlier. "What's your name?" she asked warmly. "Malik, ma'am," he replied nervously. "Malik," Ava said, her smile widening, "I'd like you to oversee my stay." Your kindness did not go unnoticed. The young man's face lit up with pride. "Thank you, ma'am. It would be my pleasure." Over the next few hours, Ava worked with Emma to ensure the hotel's policies were being upheld and that every guest, regardless of appearance, was treated with dignity. By the time she retired to the penthouse suite that evening, Ava felt a renewed sense of purpose. She had built her business on the principles of respect and inclusivity, and she was determined to ensure those values were upheld at every level. The events of that day would not be forgotten. For Ava, it was a reminder of why she had entered the hospitality industry in the first place. To create spaces where everyone felt valued, regardless of where they came from or how they looked. For Harold, it was a lesson in humility he would carry for the rest of his life. And for the staff and guests who witnessed the events, it was a powerful reminder to never judge a book by its cover. The following morning, sunlight poured through the expansive windows of the penthouse suite, illuminating the plush furnishings and breathtaking view of the city skyline. Ava Samuels stood by the window, sipping her coffee as she reflected on the previous day. While Harold's behavior had been disappointing, she felt a renewed determination to ensure her hotels reflected her vision of respect, fairness, and inclusivity. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. Malik, the young bellhop she had appointed to oversee her stay, stood outside with a warm smile and a tray of breakfast. "Good morning, Miss Samuels," he greeted her cheerfully. "Good morning, Malik," Ava replied, inviting him in. "Thank you for bringing this." "It's my pleasure," he said as he set the tray on the table. "And I just wanted to thank you for what you did yesterday. You didn't have to stand up for me or anyone else, but you did." Ava smiled. "It wasn't just about you, Malik. It's about setting the right example. Everyone deserves to be treated with kindness and respect." Malik nodded, his admiration for Ava evident. "If there's anything else you need, please don't hesitate to ask." After Malik left, Ava spent the morning meeting with Emma Castillo and the senior staff. Together, they reviewed the hotel's policies, training programs, and feedback channels. Ava made it clear that while she valued luxury and excellence, those qualities meant nothing without a foundation of respect for every guest and employee. One of Ava's initiatives was to introduce an anonymous feedback system for staff and guests to report any instances of discrimination or poor service. She also proposed a mentorship program to give employees like Malik opportunities to grow within the company. Emma enthusiastically embraced these ideas, promising to implement them immediately. By midday, News of Ava's visit and the dismissal of Harold Fitzroy had spread among the staff. Some were nervous, wondering if their jobs were at risk, while others were inspired by the owner's unexpected presence. Ava made it a point to walk to the hotel, greeting employees and engaging with guests. Her approachable demeanor quickly put everyone at ease. That evening, Ava sat in the lounge, enjoying a cup of tea and observing the buzz of activity around her. The atmosphere felt lighter, more welcoming. Guests smiled as they passed by, and staff moved with a renewed sense of purpose. It was exactly what she had hoped to achieve. As she prepared to leave the next morning, Emma approached her with a tentative smile. "Miss Samuels, I wanted to share something with you." One of our regular guests, Mrs. Whitmore, heard about what happened yesterday. She asked me to thank you personally. Ava raised an eyebrow. "Mrs. Whitmore? The philanthropist?" "Yes," Emma said. "She's been staying with us for years. She said your actions reminded her why she chooses our hotel over others." Ava smiled. "That's wonderful to hear. Please thank her for her kind words." As Ava's car pulled up to the entrance, Malik appeared with her luggage. He opened the door for her and hesitated before speaking. "Miss Samuels, I just wanted to say thank you again. You've inspired me more than you know." "Thank you, Malik," Ava replied, shaking his hand firmly. "And remember, kindness and hard work never go unnoticed. You have a bright future ahead of you." Epilogue: A hotel transformed. Months later, the Crystal Haven Hotel had become a shining example of hospitality done right. Ava's initiatives had taken root, and the hotel's reputation soared. Guests from all walks of life praised the welcoming atmosphere, and employees like Malik flourished under the mentorship program. Harold Fitzroy, now working at a much smaller establishment, had learned a hard but valuable lesson. His dismissal had been a wake-up call, forcing him to confront his biases and reflect on his actions. As for Ava, she continued to visit her hotels unannounced, always dressed simply and blending in with the crowd. Her experiences at the Crystal Haven only strengthened her belief in the power of leading by example. For her, success was measured not just by profits, but by the positive impact she could create in the lives of those around her. The story of Ava's visit became a cherished legend among the staff, a reminder that integrity and respect were the true hallmarks of excellence. And as word spread, the Crystal Haven Hotel became a beacon of hope and inspiration, proving that change, when led with grace and determination, could transform not only a business but also the lives it touched.